Today is Tuesday, March 18th. This is a special Municipal Service and Properties Committee. We're typically on Mondays, but since we have so many pieces today, I didn't want it to go any longer. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Bishop.
Here.
Starr. Harrison. Here. Ray. Casey.
Present.
Kelly. Moore. Here. Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
All right. Without further ado, let's get started. First, I want to have up capital projects. Okay, this is resolution number 301, 2025 by council members McCormick, Bishop, and Harrison. This is a departmental request, an emergency resolution declaring the intent to vacate a portion of Hancock Avenue. Okay, Director, you want to speak to this piece of resolution?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So today we have several resolutions with the intent to vacate different streets. Just a reminder to council, it's a three-step process to vacate roadways. The first is a resolution of the intent to vacate, and that's what we have today for Hancock Avenue. This would be a portion of Hancock Avenue that is at West 26th Street that is needed to be vacated in order to accommodate a new multi-family housing development, an apartment building that will be constructed by a group called Places Development, LLC. And this is the portion that is between West 26th Street and West 28th Street. And the portion closest to West 26th Street would be vacated. Okay,
is Councilman McCormick in support of this, Director?
Mr. Chairman, yes, Councilman McCormick is in full support.
All right, do I have any questions on resolution number 301, 2025? All right, no further questions. Resolution 301, 2025 is approved. Please sign it. Resolution number 300, 2025 by Council Members Starr, Bishop, and Harrison. This is a departmental request. Emergency resolution declaring the intent to vacate a portion of East 73rd Street. Okay, Director.
Mr. Chairman, so this is a request to intent to vacate a portion of East 73rd Street. This is at the request of the Department of Economic Development. This land was the previous site for the police headquarters. What they're trying to do is vacate 3 different roadways in this site to assemble the land for future economic development. This piece of East 73rd Street is between Grand Avenue and Opportunity Corridor Boulevard, and we do have support from Councilman Starr.
Okay. All right, is there any questions on ordinance number 300, 2025? All right, seeing no further questions, ordinance 300, 2025, resolution number 300, 2025 is approved. Please sign it. Resolution number 299, 2025 by Council Members Starr, Bishop, and Harrison. This is a departmental request. An emergency resolution declaring the intent to vacate a portion of East 71st Place. Okay, Director.
Mr. Chairman, so again, this is an intent to vacate. The street here is a portion of East 71st Place. It goes between Grand Avenue and Opportunity Corridor Boulevard. And again, it's in the same geography as the last street. The intent is for the Department of Economic Development to vacate the streets and consolidate for future economic development. And we do have support from Councilman Starr.
Okay. All right. Is there any questions on ordinance 299, 2025? Seeing no questions, or resolution 299, 2025 is approved. Resolution number 298, 2025 by Council Members Starr, Bishop, and Harrison. It's a departmental request. An emergency resolution declaring the intent to vacate a portion of East 70th Street. All right, Director.
Mr. Chairman, so this is the third of the three streets in this geography that we wish to start the vacation process.
Okay.
And this is East 70th Street to the north of Grand Avenue. And it is just a paper street, does not exist currently with asphalt. We do seek vacation in order to assemble the land for economic development, and we do have the support of Councilman Starr.
All right. Is there any questions on resolution number 298, 2025? All right, seeing no further questions, please sign it. It's resolution 298 is approved. Next is ordinance number 157, 2025 by council members Spencer, House Jones, Bishop, and Griffin. This is a departmental request. This is an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Capital Projects and/or City Planning to enter into one or more contracts with Savona Studios, LLC, Lauren HB Studio, and Kessler Studio, LLC for professional services necessary for the design, production, and installation of 3 yet-to-be-designed public artwork installations at the renovated Clark Recreation Center, the renovated Sterling Recreation Center, and the new fire stations number 26. Okay? All right, Director.
So, Mr. Chairman, we've had a public art program in place since 1976, and that requires that when we have major capital projects that we allocate money towards public art. And recently, the law department determined that we need to pass an ordinance specific to the artist indicating the amount of the art award through City Council. So this is the first of many ordinances that you will see coming through City Council. We're grouping them so that as we select the artists, we're grouping them together, and then we'll bring them through council for authorization. So Savona Studio LLC, as you mentioned, would be at Clark Recreation Center, and the amount of the award is $80,000. Lauren HB Studio will be installing art at Sterling Recreation Center. The amount of the award is $87,813. And Kistler Studio LLC will be installing art at the new fire station number 26 on Kinsman Road. The amount of that award is $148,000. The artists have been selected. The awards are based upon the cost of the cost of the capital improvement, and but the art has not yet been designed, so we don't have art to show you today. But we do have a process through City Planning Commission, and we have a public art committee that reviews the actual aesthetics of the art. So happy to answer any questions about the process, the public art program, or these particular artists.
Okay, Director, I got a question. How can you determine how much this piece of art is going to cost if it's not designed yet?
Yep, and I'm going to hand it over to Jay Rauschenbach, who he chairs our public art committee to help us with that answer.
Mr. Chairman, we give them a budget and they design to the budget. So they offer how much they could get from that budget. So an example, the Fire Station 26, they give us a budget we give them a budget of $148,000. And through that, the artist said that she could make a sculpture for about $100,000. Then you add in her artist fee, the shipping cost, the installation cost, and that comes out to the $148,000. So they gave us an itemized budget of the breakdown of the budget we give them.
Okay, so who gives you an itemized budget?
The artist does.
And Mr. Chairman, to Jay, if you could explain how we selected these artists as well.
Sure. So these, we put out an RFP. We identify the site and the project and the budget. We have all the artists submit to the RFP through the Public Art Committee. We review all the presentations, all the proposals. And as a committee, we select the top 3. Then we interview those top 3, and we ultimately score them, and the highest scored person is awarded the project.
So you selected them already, and they haven't designed any art for us?
So when they come in for the interview, they might present a concept or an idea, but we don't want them to spend money to create a concept without being paid for that work. So they're allowed to bring in an idea, but we're not requiring them to bring in an idea to the interview.
Okay, so if they design a piece of artwork and somebody's not happy with it, what's the process? I mean, how does that work?
So, Mr. Chairman, they'll bring that artwork to the Public Art Committee, and we'll review it before we actually give the approval to make that public art. So we might offer suggestions how to make it more appropriate for the site, more reflective of the community during the design process, and also go through the Planning Commission design review and the full Planning Commission as well for their comment and review as well. So there'll be multiple stages to offer changes if we need to.
Okay, so basically, we basically tell them, hey, you got $100,000. Go design a piece of artwork for $100,000 if you take your fee right off the top. Is that what I'm?
Mr. Chairman, that's correct. And we stipulate that all the projects have to have community engagement, so they'll engage the community for the design of the artwork as well. They could do meetings to talk about what's reflective of the community for the art. They actually might have the community help design the art or physically build the art. So that's all in the proposal that we review through the Public Art Committee.
So the councilmatic, how are you going to allow for the councilmatic piece of this art piece to weigh in, the council to weigh in on this art? Because for example, you mentioned the fire station. That's Councilman Blaine's ward, right? How will he get to weigh in on that piece of artwork? Do you have that figured out yet?
So, Mr. Chairman, when we do the Public Art Committee, we offer an ad hoc from the community that the council person selects to be on the committee. So, Council President Blaine was offered to offer someone from his community to be on the committee to help in the review of the proposals and selection of the artist.
Okay, so now each site is 3 different sites: the Sterling, the fire station, and another site. How do we come up with a budget for each site? Because there's a different price for each site, correct?
Mr. Chairman, so we take the budget of the construction contract. So an example, the Clark Recreation Center renovation, whatever that contract amount was, we just take 1.5% of that amount, and that's what the public art budget is.
Okay. All right. All right.
Mr. Chairman, that's set by that codified ordinance from 1976, the 1.5%.
Oh, the 1.5%. Okay. All right. Is there any questions on ordinance number 157, 2025? Councilman Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to the director, I don't know if we could bring this up now because this is regarding Clark Rec, or if we should wait until, do it now or. So we have Clark Rec, right? And less than 0.3 of a mile, we have Zone Rec. So with all due respect to Clark Rec and the council person down there, should we be looking into the upgrades that we are at Clark Rec when we have Zone Rec so close? I mean, that would be like us building a new rec center at Puritas Plaza when we have Gunning right up the street. So, Mr. Chairman, to the director, can you explain the reasoning behind the improvements at Clark? And it just started with this mural, but I was going to bring it up during the Park and Rec presentation. But when we have 2 that close, is it financially feasible that we keep one of them open when they're so close? And I mean, they're literally, you can almost see one from the other.
Through the chairman, the councilman, it's a great question. I think it's a question that we should ask about all the rec centers, about the proximity to other rec centers. And you did mention the Park and Rec Master Plan presentation. So publicly, I'd like to say that on March 31st, we'll be here at the MSP committee on that Monday to present the Park and Rec Master Plan findings, the final report to this committee. After that, it'll go to Planning Commission, and then it'll be released to the public. But to your specific question, the thing that's different in this particular situation is how the freeway cuts across in between Zone Rec and Clark Rec. And the fact of the matter is that there's two different demographics that serve those rec centers due to the geography and the way that the freeway cuts the neighborhoods. They are both, to my understanding, currently in Ward 15, but in reality, Clark Rec serves Ward 14 more. It's kind of on the border of Ward 14. So Clark Rec was was greenlit under the previous administration. We're finishing up that project now. Previously, they focused on the smaller rec centers that had been previously the bathhouses, so Kavasik, Clark Rec, and Sterling. And so through the Park and Rec Master Plan, though, as we go forward with future full recreation center renovations, we are absolutely going to look at how we can improve rec centers in the best way to provide the best services to the communities. And this is a little bit different, though, because of the highway splitting the neighborhoods.
I mean, Mr. Chairman, the director, the two rec centers basically are back to each other with the highway dividing it. So you're talking, 500 feet to the west, another 500 feet, and then you're at Zone Rec. Right. So I get it, and I understand, but I mean, is there a long-term goal to keep both rec centers open and operational?
So through the chairman of the council, the Park and Rec Master Plan does have an analysis of recreation centers. Because Clark Recreation Center is currently about to complete their renovation, we do intend to finish that project. But like I said, all rec centers, we need to look at what's proximate, what has good facilities, which ones are outdated. Does it make sense to build new? Does it make sense to renovate? Does it make sense to come up with other ideas?
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Councilman Casey. Councilman Anthony Hairston.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through the chair to the director and Mr. What's your name again? Mr. Rauschenbach. Well, you said you all put out an RFP to seek artists for the artwork, correct? How many submissions did you all receive through the chair?
Through the chair, for the fire station one, we received about 15 to 20, and for the rec centers, about a dozen each. We got a really robust submission this year since we grouped the Sterling and the Clark together, so we got a really robust submission for that. And based on the budget for the Clark for the fire station, we just got a lot of submissions too, since it's pretty high budget.
Gotcha. And through the chair, is it the same artist who's doing all three projects or different artists?
Through the chair, they're all different artists. We made sure that no single artist would get more than one project.
Gotcha. And through the chair to the MoCap team here, was the artists that you chose, were they the lowest bid that came in?
Through the chair, we did not. They did not propose a budget. We gave them the budget, so we based their selection based on their qualifications and ultimately their concept and community engagement idea when we did the final interview with them.
Okay, got it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Councilman Harrison. Also, I want to ask that you submit all of the applicants who applied for each project. Can you submit them to the council? Mm-hmm. All right.
Yes,
Is there any other questions on ordinance number 157, 2025? Seeing no further questions, ordinance number 157, 2025 is approved.
Thanks, Jay.
Ordinance number 178, 2025 by council members McCormick, Bishop, and Griffin. It's a departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Capital Projects to employ one or more professional consultants for the preliminary design, the final design, and construction services related to rehabilitation of the Carter Road Lift Bridge to apply for and accept any gifts, grants, or loans for the appropriate State of Ohio department or other public or private entities or agencies for the rehabilitation of the Carter Road Lift Bridge. Okay, Director, you want to speak to this piece?
Yes, sir. So, Mr. Chairman, last year we received a $20 million grant from the state of Ohio through the local major bridge project fund. And that is for the reconstruction of the Carter Road Lift Bridge, rehabilitation of the lift bridge. Carter Road Lift Bridge is one of the lift bridges that will need major rehabilitation. The $20 million will not support the full rehabilitation of the bridge, which is why this particular ordinance will allow us to engage with a consultant that will do several things, one of which is to split the project into phases and also assist us with seeking additional grants for the second phase of the project. So the construction for phase one of the construction for phase one of the project would be July of 2027 to December of 2029. But in the meantime, we will use this consultant to design the improvements as well as seek funding and set a schedule for phase two of the project. And I do have Ron Mason with me, who's the section chief of construction in the Division of Engineering and Construction.
Okay, Director, the council did not get a summary for this piece of legislation? Is that by design?
Mr. Chairman, not by design at all. I do have a summary with me, so I'm not sure how that got separated from your materials, but I can certainly make sure that it's included for the next committees. We had a legislative summary as well as a map that was submitted with our request for legislation.
So also, the last ordinance that we just passed did not have a summary either, the 157, and you know what, I missed that one, but it didn't have a summary. And I thought I made it clear that I wanted summaries for all the pieces of legislation coming through the committee.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, again, I have a legislative summary that was submitted with our request for legislation, as well as a spreadsheet that showed the contract numbers and the amounts of the artists that were specified in the ordinance. So I will check with our legislative liaison to see why that didn't make it onto your tablets. Okay,
Director, in section 3, it says the cost of this ordinance shall be paid from subfund number 20, subfund 568, the funds or funds to which are credited any gift, grant, or loan accepted under this ordinance, and from any and all other funds approved by the Director of Finance, including future bond funds if issued for this purpose. So why is that section 3 so wide open? It's not as specific. It says basically you can pull the money from any funds that you would like. Is that what I'm reading?
Mr. Chairman, so the language is broad because part of the scope of this consultant's work is to seek additional grant funds for us. So we do have the $20 million from the state of Ohio. We do intend to sell $1.5 million of capital bonds in 2025, which will come before City Council for approval, and that is all the funding that we anticipate allocating right now. But we do, as I mentioned, intend for this consultant to seek additional funding through other grant sources. I anticipate that we'll go back to the state of Ohio for another bite at the apple of the local major bridge project fund. And that's why that language is more broad.
Okay.
The 20 million plus the 1.5 million is not sufficient to complete the Carter Road Bridge project in total.
You say the 20 million plus the 5 million is not sufficient?
20 million plus the 1.5 in
1.5.
future bonds funds is not sufficient to complete the project, just to complete phase 1 of the project.
So how much would you estimate it will cost to complete the project?
We don't know. Yeah. So, Mr. Chairman, that's part of what our consultant will identify for us. So yeah, we don't have the total project cost right now. The first step is to get a consultant on board that's a bridge expert to assist us with that analysis.
Okay. All right. Do I have any questions on ordinance number 178, 2025?
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Casey.
Excuse me. Mr. Chairman, to the director, is this all bonded out, or will there be cash on hand for this as well?
So, Mr. Chairman, the councilman, the $20 million from the state of Ohio is not bond funds. That's a grant from the state of Ohio. The 1.5 million, and I apologize, you don't have a legislative summary, is proposed to be 2025 bond funds of $1.5 million. And that would be the total that we're anticipating for phase 1 of this project. So 1.5 for bond funds, 20 million of grant funds.
And then what's, Mr. Chairman, to the director, what's the total amount of the project?
For phase 1, that is the total amount of the project. For phase 2, as I referenced to Councilman Bishop, the consultant team that we bring on board under the authority of this ordinance will help us define what the total project costs are. It's a major, lift bridges are major rehabilitations that it's, $40, $50 million.
All right, well, Mr. Chairman, when it comes to bonds, capital, and cash on hand issue, I believe that we need to, because I'm skeptical of the cash on hand, right? I think we need to amend the resolution or the ordinance, amend to strike from any and all funds approved by the Director of Finance, including, so that Section 3 would really read, that the cost of the ordinance shall be paid from Fund Number 20 SF 568, the fund or funds to which are credited any gift, grants, or loans accepted under the ordinance, and future bond funds if issued for the purpose.
Okay. All right. Director, you have any response to that amendment?
Mr. Chairman, no, I don't have any issues with that.
Okay. Okay. Councilman Casey has put forth an amendment to ordinance number 178, 2025. Is there a second? Okay. Is there any discussion about the amendment to ordinance number 178, 2025? All right, all in favor of the amendment say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, the amendment carries. All right, the Law Department, do you have the amendment? Yes, sir. Okay. All right, Director, is there any other questions?
No, sir.
Okay, so how often do we do these rehabilitation of these lift bridges?
To the chair, we do these every 25 years. The last one was done in 1992, which was 23 years ago. So by the time we're finished with the design and the outlay of the funding, we'll be ready to upgrade the bridge again.
Okay, so it's going to take 20-some years?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on ordinance number 178, 2025? Seeing no further questions, ordinance number 178, 2025 is approved.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, Public Works. Morning. 239.
Please, through the chair, to the councilperson, please.
Okay, ordinance number 239, 2025, by council members Bishop and Griffin. This is a departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Works to enter into one or more contracts with Fastener Asset Solutions for the acquisition of a database management system, including software licenses, system support, annual maintenance, and the service necessary to migrate to a web-based system for the Division of Motor Vehicle Maintenance, Department of Public Works, for a period of 2 years. Okay, Director?
Thank you, Chair. The passage of this legislation is necessary for the upgrade of our current inventory system from a Windows-based system to a web-based system. The system is used to track our fleet data, which includes vehicles, fueling, and parts inventory. And I have with me Commissioner Brown to be able to answer any questions. But in a nutshell, this system is a system we've been using for many years. But now that the company has actually gone from being desktop kind of version or client-based to a web-based version, and to make that leap, that change is going to cost us, we anticipate around $300,000 or so. And so we're coming to ask for approval to be able to accept this vendor we've been using for probably, I don't know, maybe more than 10 or so, 15 years.
15 to 20.
About 15 to 20 years. So we've had a good relationship with this group. The software is pretty robust, and it's been able to do everything we needed to do. So with that, I'll open it up to any questions, and the commissioner is here for that.
Okay, so you're going to use the same company, basically?
Yes.
Okay, and this company is who?
To the chairman, this is Faster Systems.
Okay, all right. And how long you been doing business with Fastener Systems?
To the chairman, over 15 years. This is our fleet data management system.
All right, is there any questions on ordinance number 239, 2025?
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Casey.
Mr. Chairman, to the assistant director, right? And
Commissioner.
Commissioner. So what would be the total cost of this? I know we're kind of leaving it, we're saying around 300,000, but is there an exact cost to it?
To the chair, to the councilman, the cost estimate here includes the migration of our current data over to the cloud-based system and the setup of that system and the annual fee for the first 2 years.
All right, and then, Mr. Chairman, to the commissioner, we know we're dealing with technology that, because we can't see it, right? It's just out there somewhere. We know that the prices can fluctuate up and down. So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to proffer an amendment to add not to exceed 300,000 instead of just saying 300,000 in section 3.
Okay, Councilman Brian Casey has made an amendment to ordinance number 239, 2025. Is there a second? Councilman Harrison seconds it. Is there any discussion on ordinance 239, 2025?
Could I just ask, is the administration comfortable with that, given the expectations of the software? Through the chair.
Through the chair to the councilperson, in the case that we have to come back, if it's more than that, we'll come back. But we'll work with what we have.
Okay, I'm in support.
All right, all in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, the ayes have it. Okay, ordinance number 239, 2025 is approved as amended.
Thank you.
You got another?
I'll follow your lead.
Ordinance number 306, 2025, by council members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request. This is an emergency ordinance authorizing the purchase by one or more requirement contracts for the transfer and disposal of tires for the Division of Waste Collection and Disposal, Department of Public Works, for a term of 2 years. All right, Director.
Chair, to the committee, this is our tire disposal collection contract. We've done this on a regular basis for quite some time. Typically do it for about a 2-year period. That 2-year period is up now. We are just asking for the ability to be able to go out. This is not to select a vendor, but just to be able to go out and solicit vendors through the competitive bidding process.
Okay, so explain what this ordinance allows you to do, Commissioner, Director.
Mr. Chair, what it allows us to do is go out for bid for a service that will dispose of our tires.
Okay, what's the pricing of the, how much does it cost to dispose of our tire per tire? Do you have that cost?
Currently, it costs us about $350 per ton. Last year, we did 188 tons. We spent $380,000 last year for disposal of tires.
Okay. All right, do I have any questions on ordinance number 306, 2025?
Chair.
Councilwoman Mar?
Thank you very much, Chair. Commissioner, I know in the past when this particular contract has come up, we've discussed sort of more creative solutions for tire disposal. And I know last year you talked about researching tire buyback models or sort of days for tire drop-offs. Could you give us an update about how that work is going and if you see any sort of iterations or new developments happening in our constant quest to chase down the tires that are illegally dumped throughout the city?
Yes, through the chair, we are currently spec'd out a tire shredding machine. The purpose of the tire shredding machine is to be able to do the things you just articulated, reduce the amount of the cost that we have to dispose of tires and also find creative solutions for that material. The material has a value on the market. Finding the right end user is key. However, this legislation is still necessary because I still need a backstop to be able to dispose of tires. Additionally, we do have a grant that we work with the Ohio EPA. It's for illegally dumped tires. There's only so much funds that's on the that's in the grant. So as we collect illegally dumped tires, we make a call to Ohio EPA, and they come and collect those tires from us for free. But once we have exhausted those funds, and then we still need to be able to dispose of them via this type of contract.
Absolutely, and to be clear, I'm in support of this contract. This is a repeat contract we need to have in place for the Division of Waste. Completely understood. I just know that we also spend a lot of time and energy as a city chasing down these tires. I know last year we talked about cities that have like one-day amnesties where people can put, I think there's a Ohio limit on the number of tires you can carry in one vehicle at one time. I think that's 10 or something along those lines. You can't transport more than a certain number of tires in a standard vehicle, but that allowing like one day a year where people can essentially do a tire buyback, where they can drive tires to Ridge Road Transfer Station and do a buyback. Did we ever investigate or sort of look into that model, and do you have any interest in pursuing that for one-day tire buyback events through the chair?
Through the chair, currently we allow a resident they can put 4 tires on a tree line every single week. They can do that 52 times a year.
Right.
And if they want to drive tires to the Ridge Road Transfer Station, we don't have a problem with that at all.
Right. This is about getting people to clean up the tires that are dumped around the city. You know, no one has an incentive to go into a lot where someone's dumped 20 tires and then put them on their tree lawn. But if we did a tire buyback day, maybe people would. So again, this is about trying to chase down those illegally dumped tires that we deal with across the city. Through the chair.
Through the chair, yes, we will be interested. We work with any community-based organization that wants to do something, or even a resident that wants to do a cleanup in a particular street or the community. We work with them to make sure that they don't incur additional costs.
Thank you. Do you have any numbers offhand of or would you be able to find sort of estimate of the number of tires that are picked up through like John Campbell's shop, or, rather than being dropped off at Ridge Road or being left on a tree lawn, how many tires we collect as a city because they've been illegally dumped, through the chair?
Yes, we can. We have the information.
Thank you. If you'd be so kind as to share that, I know that would be helpful as we think about sort of tire buybacks.
I didn't hear you.
All right. Well, I'll just put in a plug to my colleagues. Other cities have done successful, like, one-day buyback events. You got to have certain limits on it. I do think there are restrictions about the number of tires you can bring in. But, a couple times a year, I think would be a really good project for us as a city.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Council Moore. Is there any other questions on ordinance number 306, 2025? Seeing no further questions, ordinance number 306, 2025 is approved.
Thank you.
Ordinance number, you got a question, Council? Okay. Ordinance number 305, 2025, by Council members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request. An emergency ordinance to amend section 551.112 of the codified ordinance of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, as amended by ordinance number 2393-202, passed February 2nd, 2003, relating to fees for dumpsters and compactor rentals, and to amend section 551.301 of the codified ordinance of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, as amended by ordinance number 676A 82, passed June 21st, 1982, relating to the service charges for tire shredding. Okay.
Thank you,
All right.
Chair. This passage of this legislation is necessary to increase commercial dumping and compactor fees, establish a rate for the leasing of a second waste collection cart for households paying the standard waste collection fee, and develop rates for commercial dumpster service of recyclable materials to be made available to residential dwellings with more than 4 units. This legislation allows for the division to assess and collect a charge of $5 per tire for shredder service for privately hauled tires. So I have the Commissioner here to answer questions, but in a nutshell, there are some things that we need to be able to have authority to be able to do to charge. Some of our rates are not competitive. In fact, they're not even at the place where they're not covering our cost. So we're at a place now we want to be able to at least cover our cost, and to be able, and as far as the second cart, to be able to have a venue for people to be able to get that second cart. So I'm going to open up the floor for your questions, but Commissioner Pruitt can address them.
Okay, Commissioner, so the cost of a tire will go from, how much is the cost of a tire right now?
Currently, it's 50 cents. If we were to pick up, we do have the legislative authority to go out to a commercial entity and pick up their tires. It'd be 50 cents per tire. It will cost us $5 to dispose of that tire. So that's why we're not currently in that business. This amendment to that section will allow us to at least cover our cost.
Okay, so if we increased it, the cost from 50 cents to $5 a tire, would that, do you think that would encourage folks to dump tires illegally on our city streets?
It will allow us to go into a business, Mr. Chair, allow us to go into business with entities who want to comply with the law.
Okay.
So that's the key, is that there's a number of mom and pop tire shops who do tire service for folks in the community, and they pay a fee to dispose of such tires. Often they pay that cost on to the customers, but it'll allow us to solicit their business to be able to take those tires off their hand for a reasonable fee.
Okay, so presently, so when we get a tire dump, I mean, it's clear that it is done by a car shop, correct?
Not necessarily, Mr. Chair.
You say not necessarily?
It's not necessarily.
So if we have a dump, let's say make 30 or 40 tires, which I've experienced in my ward, that would have to come from a commercial outfit. It wouldn't come from individual, he doesn't have that many tires on hand, right? Is that correct?
That's correct. Your large, so, Mr. Chair, so we see tires dumped in varied amounts and quantities. We often see tires dumped 3-4 at a time. We see one or twosies, and then we do see large piles of tires that will be an indication that it may be a commercial source.
Okay. So you're not worried about the proliferation of tires being dumped on our streets?
Mr. Chair, we're 100% concerned about the tires being dumped on our streets. This just allows us to be able, this is just one additional tool to allow us to be able to go into a commercial business that offer a service that may reduce the amount of illegally dumped tires if we go into business with a certain entity. Ultimately, what this is, Mr. Chairman, is just covering our costs. We always were allowed to partner with X, Y, and Z tire company, tire shop for their tires. It just was cost prohibitive because it just never, it was 50 cents a tire it's not, doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it won't cover the cost. So do we know how many tons of tires are dumped on our city streets on an annual basis now?
Yes, what we can do is we can pull the numbers on an annual basis of how many tires we dispose that came from illegal dump sources. We have no numbers. That's similar to the question that Councilwoman Mara asked. We segregate the numbers between tires that are collected off the tree line and then tires that are collected from vacant lots and vacant sources. We keep those two numbers separated for reporting to the EPA. So we do have that information.
Okay. All right. Is there any questions on ordinance number 305, 2025? All right, seeing no questions on ordinance 305, 2025 is approved. Please sign it. Ordinance number 304, 2025 by Council Members Bishop and Griffin. This is a departmental request. An emergency ordinance to amend section 551-111 of the codified ordinance of Cleveland, Ohio, 1976, as amended by ordinance number 974-13, passed December 1st, 2014, relating to the setting out of excess large quantity of waste for collection prohibited, applicably and penalty.
Yes.
All right, Director.
Thank you, Chair. The goal of this piece of legislation is to require that individuals who put out things like mattresses, that they're required to wrap those mattresses. As you know, we've dealt with things like bed bugs in that case. We don't have anything in the ordinance that requires that. And what we're asking for in this piece is to be able to do that kind of thing.
Okay. Also, Director, you want to increase the penalty for this violation?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, the penalty stays the same. This legislation only includes language requiring individuals to wrap anything that's made out of cloth.
Okay. To the Commissioner, how will we educate the public of the change of this ordinance, of this new law?
There's a couple things. What we can do is that we have a waste guide that we publish on a biannual basis. We'll make sure that's included in the waste guide. And additionally, when we put out our bulk, a yearly bulk calendar, we'll make sure that information's in there as well.
Okay. All right. Is there any questions on ordinance number 304, 2025?
Yes, Chair.
Councilwoman Mara?
Oh. Councilwoman Gray can go first. I apologize. You got in under the wire.
Okay.
Councilwoman Gray.
All right. Thank you, Chair. The question I have is, good morning, everyone. Good morning. The question I have, due to the mattresses that need to be wrapped, as you know, Commissioner Pruitt, we have a lot of illegal dumping mattresses that be placed in open partials, and I know that I believe part of the ordinance per se, that the mattress have to be placed in front of from a property. When the mattresses are illegal dumped in front of a partial and or illegally dumped on a property or business property, how do your department pick up those mattresses when they are legally placed in those areas? Chair to Commissioner Pruitt.
Through the chair to the council lady, when we have illegally dumped items, we often are careful as well. We have a mechanical means by picking those mattresses up via a grapple truck. And in cases where we need to do it manually, we often have our employees dress themselves in a tie-back suits in order to protect themselves.
Yes. Thank you for that. That's very helpful because, as we all most likely deal with illegal dumping, and a lot of mattresses are dumped through the middle of the night, but they stay there such a long period of time because it's illegal dumping. And I don't know the time span that when we do put that in through my office or someone call to have it put through, what is the time span, Chair to Commissioner Pruitt, the time span that when that illegal dumping mattress is there in that lot or on a property that the owner feel that they shouldn't be caused to get it picked up? How is that handled, Chair to Commissioner Pruitt?
Through the chair to Councilwoman, illegal dumping has its own service level agreement. I'm not certain on the time frame because that's actually handled in the Division of Streets.
Okay.
We do assist the Division of Streets if necessary, but once you enter in a service request for the illegal site to be cleared, then they have a service. I'm not certain of the service level agreement that they have before they respond.
Okay, so I addressed that to Division of Streets and illegal dumping. Thank you.
Through the chair to the council president, and it would depend on what else is on the, if you have simply just a mattress and some things, the turnaround can be pretty quick. But if you have mattresses and tires and vehicles, that turnaround, as you know, could be a lot longer. So it will depend on what's actually on the lot. But we try to, I think, about 2 weeks for the turnaround when we don't have as complicated of an issue on the property.
Okay, great answer, because I will lead it into this, Chair, to both commissioners. You're Commissioner too?
Nope, Assistant Director.
Assistant Director, okay, sorry.
Through the chair.
Because on Lardette, which is where I live, but somebody dumped a mattress and a sofa on, and now we put that request in through my office twice already. So the thing is, it was dumped on. It's a store that sits right on the corner of Lardette, if you're aware of that building, per se. I've called on it many times for building housing, but there's a store that sits on that corner, and right on the street of Lardette is like 3 car spaces, but it's owned by the store. However, someone put a mattress and a sofa and some pillows of the sofa there. It'd been there for at least 2 weeks. I put it through my office because I live on the street. So due to where it is, it's on like that, but the store is on 116th. But that space is owned by the store because it's 3 parking spaces behind the store. However, I put it through my office because the store is kind of shut down. So, and then I waited because I know you have it's a time frame, and normally it would have been picked up, but it hasn't. So I figured due to where it's, where it is, could it be the store or because it's legal dumping, which way is that being looked at? Because it's been past 2 weeks, and it's an open space on the street per se. So that's why I asked that particular question. How is that maintained, or how is that considered to be picked up? Because it's been there for over 2 weeks now.
So through the chair to the council
Chair
president.
to the Assistant Director.
If, through the chair to the council president, if we could, depend, how you've laid it out, maybe we should talk to you a little bit offline or after
Okay.
this to really get into more detail with it, only because I think it might take a little time to work through that.
All right, and plus I have a meeting with Division of Streets, so
Okay.
when I leave this, I'll go downstairs, and hopefully Commissioner Scott is in the meeting, and I can ask that question and pursue it. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you, Councilwoman Gray. Councilwoman Moore?
Thank you. I have a similar line of questioning for Councilwoman Gray because obviously we're always trying to hit a balance of safety for the workforce as well as sort of a quality city service that people can use. And I've put out old mattresses with wrapping on them. I went on Amazon. It was fairly easy to find like a big piece of plastic to put my mattress in and drive it and drag it out to the tree lawn. But I'm just imagining that it might be a little more difficult for like sofas and other furniture that people tend to put out on a bulk week. And I worry that if we move towards fining, we're just going to encourage more illegal dumping. And so I want to get your sense of how you're kind of balancing the safety concern where, your crews are handling these unwrapped pieces of furniture a lot already. You've already done it for years. What made you want to move towards fining and more strongly enforcing the wrapping rules, especially for furniture that might be a little bit harder for people to actually get wrapped on their tree lawn? Through the chair.
Through the chair to the council person, and I do understand the concern, and we are sensitive to that. I do think, but also as far as the safety of our own staff, we know with the proliferation of things like bed bugs and other things like that, we are concerned, and we do have contractual obligations as well to our staff to make sure that they're safe. That is probably the impetus for this, and I'm going to let Commissioner Pruitt jump in a little bit, but that will be the beginning point where we're thinking about long-term, what is the liability to the city for exposing our workers to this environment. So that's part of the things that we're thinking about as we want to get this legislation passed. But I am going to turn it over to Commissioner Pruitt.
Yes, through the chair, Councilwoman, the safety of the employees is number one concern. They're our number one asset for our division. Without them, we won't be able to accomplish anything. And often they are faced with things that you just want to do. You want to do everything in my influence and ability to make sure they come to work and they go home safely. And one of the key things is trying to protect them from known incidents where there are oftentimes mattresses with substances that they don't want to just don't want to contaminate themselves and their families. So that is the sole reason for proposing this amendment change.
I got it. Oh, sorry, let me turn on the microphone. I mean, I fully agreed, and, I am, obviously we want the safety of your workers is number one. They're out doing a job a lot of people in this city, including everyone at this table, hasn't done, and that might be hard for us to do. So I'm very grateful for the workforce. Is it, are you expecting to get to the point where you are ticketing everyone who puts out a mattress or a piece of furniture without wrapping on it? Or is this more like we have it on the books in case it's something really egregious? How are you expecting to enforce if we move towards ticketing for not putting plastic on furniture and mattresses? Through the chair.
Through the chair, Councilwoman, we never get an opportunity. We don't ticket everyone that's in violation. It's just one of those things. If we always say people they speed up and down Kisman Avenue, but not everybody gets a ticket. So it's one of those things where you do see egregious illegal set-outs. Those are often the ones that receive the ticket. But the onesie-twosies, that we're not nitpicking when it comes to writing citations.
Okay, thank you. And I suppose I know I have found a effective plastic wrap for mattresses. I haven't had to deal with putting out furniture and sofas. To your understanding, are there essentially ways that are there places plastic I can also buy on Amazon to wrap a sofa and put it out on my tree lawn and meet the obligations of this rule? Through the chair.
Through the chair to Councilwoman, one thing that I did personally at our house is we just took two large garbage bags and split them down the side and then just taped the garbage bag over the exposed fabric. So it's not even, you don't even need to buy anything that is special. You can just open up a garbage bag and just tape it and cover up the fabric.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine if you have a sofa you're putting out, it might be a little bit more than that. But you feel confident that the residents of the city of Cleveland can meaningfully follow this rule without incurring a bunch of additional expenses to set out a bulk item through the chair?
Through the chair, Councilwoman, yes, I do.
Okay, thank you very much. Then I'm in support of this legislation.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Morrow. So the sofas that's being set out, we handle those with we have a special truck to pick that up, like a little grapper or something like that?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do have a grapple truck, but often our employees pick it up by hand.
Pick it up by hand?
Yes.
And do they put it, and what kind of truck do they put it on? Usually a flatbed type of truck?
No, Mr. Chair, they often put them into a back of a packer.
A packer like the regular garbage?
Yes, a 27-yard rear load packer.
Okay. All right, Councilman Brian Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to the Commissioner, so what happens if somebody doesn't wrap it and then it just sits there? You guys don't pick it up. Eventually they get a ticket, but they still don't pick it up and it just sits there. At what point does the couch or the mattress or whatever get disposed of?
Through the chair, it's disposed of that week. We have a policy that we clear the curb. Even if something's put out illegally, we either come back with a different type of truck, like the chairman was speaking of, a grapple truck, or sometimes we may even need to get an end loader, is all what's necessary. But the goal is to every week to clear the curb. There are some instances where we do have to leave it and then come back that same week, but the intent is to never leave trash out that's placed out for collection.
Okay, so Mr. Chairman, the Commissioner, whether wrapped or not, we want everybody to wrap it, right?
Yes.
But whether wrapped or not, that trash is still going to be removed from the tree lawn.
Through the chair, yes.
All right, thank you.
All right, is there any other questions? Councilman Anthony Harrison?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just to go a little bit deeper on Councilman Casey's question. So if someone who's disabled, who's a senior, who's not able to wrap that mattress or that couch, and they sit that out there, you're going to pick it up, but you're going to give them a ticket, correct?
If they're in violation, and if it's an egregious violation, through the chair, there's a high expectation they may receive a citation.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, when you say the word egregious, now everyone's term of egregious may be different. I probably know what egregious is, right? You got a whole tree line full of stuff. It's just ridiculous, right? Because I've sent many in to you myself. But if it's just one mattress, one couch, and they did not wrap them, maybe because we do have folks who are disabled who live by themselves, who can't move things around at times. They may not have someone who can come and help them sit things out at that moment, right? Or seniors, I see it all the time. I get calls, I can't get my cans out, Councilman, can you send somebody? My staff will go and do it. I'll go do it at times. But if that's the case, and they find the little guy from the neighborhood that we all grew up in the city, we all know that one on the street you can call to come break your yard or clean your garage out for you, right? We all have that person. And they just take it and sit it out, right? And not knowing that they should have wrapped it, now they're gone, the person didn't see it, you know. What I don't want to see is that those individuals with those truly innocent issues are penalized or affected by the change that we are making here. I know it's an issue when you have folks who just abuse, you know, the system. But you have individuals who may not know that it's a real requirement now and receive a $150. Is it a $150 ticket?
Through the chair, it's $100.
$100 ticket because they just didn't have the help, or they just found somebody at a spur moment to come drag it out the house with intentions of maybe having it wrapped, you know, when they get some additional help. And now they received a $100 ticket. It was costing them more dollars, or it's costing them $100 that they don't have already because of their, you know, current living situation or conditions. And what I hope that you all commit to not ticketing those individuals, but maybe leave something at their door to say, hey, just as a courtesy, here's some information. This is what you need to do. Now we're going to keep track of your address, because if you do it again, right, or if you do it a third and fourth time, then you will receive a ticket. But showing some level of deference to individuals who may not truly know, right, or who may not have the help to put it out. Just like when we send HHI individuals out, they work through the CDCs. They leave information at the door. Hey, you can't do this. You can't do that. I hope the waste will have some literature, something printed, or you may already have something in the house that your workers can, as they're on the street, just run up on the porch, leave it on their door, and make a note of the address. And maybe you all have a system that you track of folks that you've left FYIs to, or some sort of just reminder letters to. So they go back and is there again, then yes, you will receive a ticket the next time because we've given you information, we've left notices at your door. So please, try at least to do right, or give waste a call and say, hey, I know I'm supposed to wrap this. I don't have any help. What do I do? So my comments through the chair. Thank you.
Through the chair to the councilman, that's correct. We do, our foremen who work the districts, they keep a Rolodex information, especially the streets they're working, and they do have information they can pass out and put on the doors.
Good, that's perfect. So I'm glad to hear that they have that info and that they will do that. So thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Harrison. Is there any other questions on ordinance number 304, 2025?
I want to say something else. Chair, I want to
Councilwoman Gray?
Thank you. I want to echo Councilman Harris on his comment about taking the elders into consideration, which I'm aware that Commissioner Pruitt does that, along with his assistant, Mr. Richards. I have emailed them on several occasions beforehand when a singer called me and say that they need extra type of service because of their age and they cannot do certain things, and I will email them in advance to let them know that singer, but they also partner up with Department of Aging, where they complete the application and they work with the Commissioner Pruitt and his team, and the elders do and have gotten that assistance. So I just want to echo Councilman Harris on that they have done a great job, serving, the senior citizens. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Gray. Is there any other questions on ordinance number 304, 2025? Seeing no further questions, 304, 2025 is approved. Please sign it. All right, ordinance number 176, 2025. By council members Bishop and Griffin, this is Departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Works to enter into an amendment to contract number MA 1505 R-RC 2022-332 with the Lorain County Landfill LLC to add additional services for the handling and disposal of solid waste loads. All right, Director or Commissioner?
Thank you. The passage of this legislation is necessary so we can pay for the handling and disposal of municipal solid waste that has a radioactive signature. It is not uncommon for traces of radioactive material to be found in household trash. In order for the material to be disposed in a licensed landfill, it has to be handled in a way that the radioactive signature has been dissipated. The process of handling such material has an additional cost that was not included in the initial contract. So currently, we have a contract for our residential waste to be disposed of, and what is not a part of that contract is for our contractor to be able to handle this radioactive material. Now, it's not lots of it, but if you can imagine, people are doing chemotherapy maybe at home, and so whatever they dispose of could be in the trash. It's not a lot of material. It's some. But right now, it's come to the point where the vendor who we work with says, look, this is not a part of our contract. We want to be able to add a line in this current contract that we have in place right now just to be able to handle this. I think the cost of that is about, what is that?
$1,300.
About $1,300 per load, which is not a significant amount, which is something our general fund can handle right now. With that, I'll open it up. I'll let the commissioners talk about that, and as well give up the questions.
So can you give the committee a sense of how much is a load? Is that a truckload? Is that what I'm understanding?
Mr. Chair, yes. So we send truckloads from the Ridgeville Transfer Station to Lorain County Landfill. Those are about 25 tons of material that we send.
Per load?
Per
20
load, yes.
Okay.
So it's about $900 to $1,000 to dispose of one truckload. We send about 25 truckloads per day. Our original transfer station has capacity to hold about 3,000 tons, the process 3,000 tons of material per day. We do about 1,800 tons that we send of material to Lorraine County landfill. Often we have seen an increase of our loads that we send that have a radio signature. In years past, it may be 3 or 4 per year. In 2024, there were 18 loads that we sent that had the radio signature. And our partner, the Lorraine County landfill, just asked, hey, they have to handle it twice, basically. They can't bury anything with a radio signature, so they need to handle it a second time. And they just to develop what the cost would be for handling that load twice.
Okay, so not every load will have this $1,300 price tag. It would just be just a few loads.
We had 18 total last year.
18 total last year?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I want to open it up for questions on ordinance number 176, 2025. Councilwoman Marr?
Well, now I'm just interested because, that's an incredible question to have. How does our vendor detect the radioactive batches? How are they sort of identifying them? Are they testing them? Are we testing them? How do we find them through the chair?
Through the chair, when they come into their facility, they have a detection system that goes off that says there's something that's radioactive in the load. And then they take it to a separate site, lay everything out, let it dissipate, then reload that load and take it back through the same process.
Interesting. So it's not on our end at all. It's on our vendors' end.
Correct.
And is there, I just think about sort of how people dispose of sharps. There's a lot of information about how to do that. It seems like there might be very limited circumstances, this particularly tragic circumstance where someone might be going through chemotherapy and then their, household items have a radioactive signature. Is there any sort of education? Should our residents be doing anything different? Are there other circumstances that might bring up radioactive waste? I just didn't know this was an issue, so now I want to learn about it through the chair.
Through the chair to the councilwoman, technically, we shouldn't be taking any type of human material at all.
Yeah.
But that's not the case.
Yeah.
Oftentimes those black and sometimes those blue cans are your Cracker Jack box. You never know what surprise you'll find.
Yeah.
So the education to the residents that you need to dispose of your human waste separately in the medical with a medical vendor, but that's not necessarily always the case.
Is that something we should be educating people on?
Yes.
Is there sort of, I don't know, is there a pamphlet or a place on the website that people could go to learn about this particular issue through the chair?
Not yet, but we can develop one.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. I mean, I didn't know that, again, just going to the safety of your workers, if this is something that we're encountering enough that we need a new contract in place, I mean, I certainly, for the workers, I would want to know that this is moving through the system, and I would think that we should be educating the very limited people who might end up putting something in the trash that has a radioactive signature. Seems like something we should be doing for everyone's safety through the chair.
Through the chair, I agree.
Okay, thank you. And just one last point. Is there any other situation we've come across other than the chemotherapy one? What else could produce something with a radioactive signature?
Through the chair to the council, it's very small. That's generally the indication is from household hazardous waste, or not necessarily household hazardous waste, just from household people going to home care issues. That's generally the sources that we're finding. We're not finding anybody just trying to produce a nuclear device in our city.
Yeah.
Through the chair to the councilperson, it is not enough to injure or harm any of our workers.
Okay.
It's a small amount that is detectable by those machines, but it won't impact our workers. It's not enough to do anything like that.
So also through the chair to the council, just think about it, even parents for centuries been putting diapers in garbage.
Yeah.
So it's that type of things.
Well, it's helpful to know. I have the Harshaw Chemical Facility in my ward, and we're working with the Army Corps of Engineers tons and tons and tons of time for how to manage soil that has very, very low levels of radioactive waste. And I've learned a ton about, we're bringing it to this separate facility in Michigan that can accept this type of waste. And so I know there's a ton of rules around it. I didn't know this was something we were going through. So I would really welcome the chance for that community education so that we can tell people who might be going through a really tough time in their lives how to properly dispose of materials so we can keep everyone safe. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you, Councilman Marr. So to the commissioner, so it is illegal to put diapers, soiled diapers in?
Through the chair, technically it is, but
Okay.
we all know that people do that.
People do it anyway, yeah. Okay, so that causes a radioactive signature?
Well, it's generally not, generally what it is people that are going through some sort of home health care treatment.
Right.
And then when they dispose of some of the materials, then when it gets to a certain amount in a particular load, then it will trigger.
Okay. All right, is there any other questions on ordinance number 176?
Yes, Chair, I have a question.
Councilwoman Gray.
Added on to what you and my colleagues just asked about the soil waste. Could you give some of the examples of soil, of particular soil waste, such as other than diapers, what other type of soil waste that can cause a reaction, a radio reaction?
Through the chair to
to
the
the
councilman,
commissioner.
it's like I said, people who are going through, as you see, more and more folks are going through home health care treatment versus in a clinic, in clinical settings.
Yes.
As they dispose of other things, bandages and things of that nature, some of their medication and things of that nature, that stuff can add to a point where it does have a radioactive signature.
Wow, really? Now, Chair, to the commissioner, we're not talking about like oxygen tanks. We're just talking about soil waste.
We're just talking through the chair to the council. We're just talking about it gets to a point where some of our loads that we send to the Lorraine County landfill have a signature. Once they have been detected, the landfill is able to then segregate that load, lay that material out. It dissipates. It has a short half-life. It doesn't have a very long half-life because it's not that radioactive. Then once that half-life has been dissipated, it's reloaded and then disposed of into the landfill. And the reason for the additional cost, because they're handling that load twice. They just asked for us to be able to charge us of handling that material for it twice.
Okay. All right, very interesting, very interesting. That's similar also, Chair, to the commissioner, that's also similar to Depends. Do Depends have a radiation? Similar to diapers?
Through the chair to the councilwoman, yes, but it all depends on what is in the material.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you, Chair.
All right, seeing no further questions, ordinance number 176, 2025 is approved. Please sign it.
All right, thanks.
All right, ordinance number 235, 2025 by council members Bishop and Griffin. This is the departmental request. An emergency ordinance authorizing the purchase by one or more requirements contracts of rock salt for the Division of Streets, Department of Public Works for a period of 1 year. Okay, Director?
Thank you, Chair. The passage of this legislation is necessary to support the Division of Streets, Snow and Ice purchase for salt. This is a purchase that we do through a cooperative purchase agreement with the state of Ohio. But in order to be able to do that, we just need the legislation. And I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Scott. Do you have any questions about this? But again, this is just a regular annual request to be able to get legislation to be able to buy salt through this citywide contract, or statewide contract.
The director put it clearly. That's all it is our legislative ability to enter into the corporate agreement with ODOT.
Okay, so how much salt are we buying this year?
This year, we hopefully can purchase, our purchasing power will let us get about 50,000 tons, depending on the per ton price that comes back from the state bid.
Okay. Was there a shortage of, I've heard there was a shortage of salt this past season?
No, there was no shortage. Toward the end of the year, there were some shortages at the stores, but we didn't have any issues with salt coming out of Cargill, no.
Okay. Now, do we expect a price increase on our regular salt that we purchase?
I always anticipate some increase. You hope not, but you have to anticipate that. We just don't know until the bids come in.
Okay. All right. Is there any questions on ordinance number 235, 2025? All right, seeing no further questions, ordinance 235, 2025 is approved.
Thank you.
Okay, ordinance number 233, 2025, by council members Bishop and Griffin, a departmental request, an emergency ordinance determining the method of making the public improvement for the grinding of pavement for the local resurfacing of city streets, and authorizing the Director of Public Works to enter into one or more public improvement requirement contracts for the making of the improvement for a period up to 1 year, with 2 one-year options to renew, exercisable by the Director of Public Works. Okay, Director.
Thank you, Chair. This is, again, another one of our pieces for our normal operations. This piece will allow us to enter into a contract to be able to have a vendor do grinding for us in our part of our resurfacing program. So I'll open this up for questions. I'll turn it over to Commissioner Scott to answer any of your questions.
Mr. Chairman, to the council people, this legislation just gives us the authority to go out to bid for our pavement grinding contract. The current contract will expire in September, so we're good to go right now, and we'll have this new contract in place by that time.
Okay. Is there any questions on ordinance number 233, 2025? Councilwoman Marr.
Thank you. I know I've been very lucky in Ward 12 that since I came into office, our Ward 12 residential resurfacing streets have been done by DOS. And I know we're moving more of the wards into being done in-house at the Department of Streets. And I assume this contract is part of our ability to do that. Could you share a little bit about your expectations for the Department of Streets? Are you planning to do all residential resurfacing in the city this year, or are you planning to do contract out any of it through MOCAP?
Well, that's a good question. Thank you for the question. We are proud to say courts will be resurfaced by Division of Streets crews. We have been training personnel over the last couple of years. We've trained an additional 2 crews, and along with the installation of the speed tables that are approved, we intend to expand our program.
Wonderful. Well, I mean, I can tell you up close because I've had DOS do my residential resurfacing, and then we had out-of-city contractors do the ARPA back to basics. And I know for a fact there were a lot more problems with the ARPA back to basics streets. Our crews do a great job. So I really want to make sure that as we expand the amount of work they do, I know I'm planning to give them a lot of work this year. I don't know, you've seen the emails. I want to just thank them for getting it done. I mean, your crews do a great job with this, and so I'm glad they're expanding, and we just want to make sure they're supported enough as they take on more work than they have in the past, that we keep that same quality, and I know you are fully up to the challenge, so I just wanted to say thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Thank you for your support.
I have a question, Chair.
Councilman Gray.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And Commissioner Scott, I'm sorry. I just want to thank you also for the excellent service that you have given to the residents in Ward 4 per se, because we already know that's one of the wards that had the worst streets ever, and you have done a tremendous job thus far. But moving forward, as you know, that some of the residents don't understand the ordinance of how the resurface of the streets should be looked at and be chosen per se. And during my time there, a lot of the residents feel that some of the streets should be resurfaced, and they don't understand that good streets, the wise, that their streets should be resurfaced, and it's a B or C street. So how can we get this information out to the residents, so when we come out and we select the streets from the list that, from the list that is given to the councils, and then those streets are selected by D, E, and F, and the other streets that don't need resurface, how can we get this information out to a lot of the residents to understand worse streets are first before good streets? And I know there's an ordinance out on this that was is there an ordinance out on this that particularly states this per se, how this resurfacing is done? But in addition to my question, I want to know how can I get this information out to a lot of the residents that feel that because they have cracks in their streets and they want to prevent the streets becoming worse because there are cracks in the street, but still to understand the cracks doesn't, solidify that you're going to get your whole street resurfaced because of the cracks. So how can we get this information out to the residents that still feel that they've been neglected by having a resurfaced street, and how that is structured? Thank you, Chair, to the Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, to the council lady, you raised a very good point. Something that the director and I and Assistant Director talked about just yesterday, getting information out so everybody has clarity on how streets are selected. Moreover than that, we also discussed the aspect of a maintenance program for streets that are not DNF rated streets. So those should fall under a category of maintenance so they don't go into disrepair. And you mentioned crack sealing. We use another process called reclamite, and there's other applications like chip seal or slurry seal to do more of a maintenance aspect of streets that are in pretty good condition. And then that way we can focus the resurfacing on the DNF streets. That's our plan. So we're going to get more information to you about maintenance, crack sealing, about reclamite, and other processes that are available for maintenance of streets, and we're going to start to steer some of that capital money over into maintenance and less into resurfacing once we reach a certain plateau. Okay?
Yeah, thank you, thank you. And this is the ask that you're asking for to extend or have more funding for this contract, so that can be done.
Well,
Chair, to the Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, to the council, this is specifically for pavement grinding.
Pavement grinding.
As far as the resurface, so we're milling out the streets, getting rid of the potholes, and then coming back and applying the new asphalt surface. So this is for the grinding portion.
Okay.
So through the chair to the council person, there's three parts to this where we have grinding. We have asphalt. We have to order asphalt from a vendor. We actually use another vendor to actually grind the streets for us. That gives us more time to be able to do other things. So if we had to grind and do this, it would take us so much time. So we use a contractor to grind for us. That's what this request is for.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Gray. Councilman Brian Casey.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to the Commissioner, I think you just answered my question. I was just going to inquire about crack sealing. And is it going to be the city of Cleveland who does that? We're not contracting crack sealing or preventative maintenance on a street out, are we?
Mr. Chairman, to the council, it's a division of streets crews that be
All
doing
right.
work.
And we can just contact you if we...
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Seeing no further questions, ordinance number 233, 2025 is approved. Please sign it. All right, last but not least, ordinance number 232, 2025 by council members Bishop and Griffin by departmental request. This is an emergency ordinance authorizing the Director of Public Works to enter into one or more agreements with the State of Ohio Department of Transportation to provide services necessary for general routine maintenance and repair of a portion of State Route 176 for a period or periods not to exceed 2 years. Okay, Director.
Thank you. This contract is, we've done this in the past, but now we're doing this just a little different. In the past, we had two separate agreements with ODOT. One agreement to do snow and ice control on 176, and the other agreement was to do maintenance, landscape maintenance, things like that. what we're doing now, this is combining those two agreements. So we have one agreement, I believe it's for a 2-year period, I believe it's for, yes, for a 2-year period. And we had to wait until now because we had to coincide with the state of Ohio's budget. So we wanted to do it earlier, so we had to keep 2 separate agreements, but now we're at the place where we can bring these 2 agreements together. It is much more efficient for us to allow ODOT to do this for us. We don't necessarily have the equipment to do some of the things that they can do for us. And as opposed to trying to spring for the equipment, we prefer to do other things like resurfacing with our money. So we want to try to take advantage of ODOT's, their capacity to be able to do this, and that's what the bulk of this agreement is about. I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Scott to talk more about it for answer your questions on it. But
Since Mr. Chairman, to the council, since ODOT opened I-176, which is commonly known as the Jennings Freeway, we've been into this agreement allowing them, because of the interstate style of roadway that it is, they're better equipped to do this type of work.
Okay. So have the state of Ohio increased their costs on the maintenance of this roadway?
Mr. Chairman, there has been some slight increases since we started this, but it's not significant compared to what it would cost us to do the work ourselves.
Okay. All right. And what equipment do we lack for the roadways? Is it the trucks or?
Well, to maintain an interstate, it's not just the salt trucks. Those salt trucks would be then taken off of city streets,
Right.
placed onto this interstate style network of streets. But even more than that, it's the sewers, it's the cleaning of the sewers, the guardrail, it's the bridges, it's the lighting, it's the signage. So all of this is covered by ODOT.
Okay.
And not burdening not only just streets division, but other divisions in the city. The grass cutting as well.
Okay. All right. Is there any questions on ordinance number 232, 2025?
Chairman.
Councilwoman
Thank you. As when this has come up in the past, 176 runs through my ward.
Right.
Does this at all relate? ODOT put out a notice that they are closing the northbound ramp of 176 at West 14th and Quigley. The circle up there. They're replacing the ramp northbound this spring and summer. Is that related to this, or is that just a separate ODOT project that they're handling themselves through,
Mr.
through
Chairman,
the chair?
to the council, that's a separate project.
Okay, so we're not paying for that. ODOT is paying for that. Okay,
correct.
because I did drive it recently, and I was like, I wonder why we're replacing this. I'm sure there's structural issues underneath, but the ramp itself, as driver, is fine. So this covers the maintenance for 176. And potholes, grass mowing along the side. Is that correct, through the chair?
All maintenance, correct.
Great. And so I know I've asked this in the past. When we have issues with like trash and debris at entrance and exit ramps on 176, should I come to you guys or should I come to ODOT through the chair?
ODOT will probably be the proper way of getting it addressed, but we could also take a look at it as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. Those are all my questions, Chair.
All right. Any other questions on ordinance number 232? All right. Seeing no further questions, ordinance number 232 is approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
thank you.
Okay. Before we adjourn, is there, Commissioner, is there anything that you want to stress to the committee or any members of council about street resurfacing for 2025?
Well, sure. The main thing is, with us taking on the entire program, all 17 wards this year, I would just ask that everybody just hurry up and get our list. Let's finalize our list so we can get these streets programmed. Time will be of the essence.
Okay. Now, so I guess when I got my packet, I didn't have the recommended streets that normally streets would recommend for me to approve. So how's that work this year? Is that different?
Slightly different. We didn't come out and make direct recommendations. There were some council folks that had people that had streets left from last year that we automatically populated. And if you didn't have anything left from last year, we supplied you with the DNF list so you could start giving some thought to which direction you want to go. But we're more than willing and anticipate sitting down with you and constructing your program along with you. I think that'd be the best way to do it this year.
Okay. And another, I met with one of your employees, Ms. Hill.
Yes.
About some concerns about some council members had about the cost of actual resurfacing, the estimated cost versus the actual cost once you guys are finished resurfacing.
Right.
We wanted to get a snapshot of how much it costs to resurface a street, basically per square foot, or if you can kind of give us a kind of a benchmark, so we can kind of, so better educate us on the cost of resurfacing and how much actually it costs once we are finished.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's actually, Chair, that's actually something we were talking about yesterday. We're trying to put together a comprehensive document for the entire body, so you guys kind of get a feel for the process, the cost, what it takes to do it, the staff involved. And so that's something that we're working on right now, trying to get this out to you as soon, I don't know, within the next couple of weeks or so.
Okay. And another question I have is that we have during our when we kind of mulled over our budget, we changed the amount that the city is going to provide to resurface streets from 12 million to 20 million. We had an additional $8 million. So when will we see the reflection of that change per ward? When will members get the reflection? When will we get that proper
Mr. Chairman, to
information?
the council, we're prepared to provide you that information as soon as the legislation is finalized.
Okay.
And speaking with the council president, I think that's going to happen this week sometime.
Okay. All right. All right. Councilman Casey. That was my question. Okay. All right. Any other questions for the commissioner while we have him here?
Yes, I have one question.
Councilman.
Thank you. Due to the redistricting of our wards and redoing the resurfacing in the wards that we already in, is that a deterrent to what we had planned to resurface in the wards that we have? Will that still stay the same for this year?
Yes.
Even though the redistricting lines was already certified?
Mr. Chairman, to the council, the impact of the redistricting won't be felt till next year. So this year, it's going to be based on the current ward configurations.
Okay, I just want to be sure.
All right, is any other questions? All right, I want to welcome our newest committee member, Councilwoman Gray, to the committee. I know this is your first time to the committee, so Director, she is our newest member for the Municipal Services Committee.
Welcome.
All right, I hereby adjourn the Municipal Services to the next call of the chair.
Thank you.